Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fifth talk in the Only One Theme talk series, Wave 2. Today's topic is Only Open Innovation by Dr. Shreeram Joshi. Let me briefly introduce Dr. Joshi before we begin the talk. Dr. Shreeram Joshi is currently serving as the Director of Innovation Development for Asia at Evonik India Pvt. Limited. With over 17 years of diverse experience in the fields of pharma, Nutra, process engineering, and specialty chemicals, he has excelled in R&D, scale-up, and innovation management. Dr. Joshi's academic qualifications include a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from Mumbai University, a master's degree in chemical technology from Laxminarayan Institute of Technology, Nagpur, and a PhD in chemical engineering from Institute of Chemical Technology in Mumbai. His extensive expertise and educational background make him a valuable asset to the organization. With this very brief introduction, I welcome Dr. Joshi to the session and hand over the session to him. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Mrs. Lele, and thank you, the organizing team at TechX.
Just a second, we'll share this. Is the screen visible?
Yeah. Right. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. So let me start by explaining to you the agenda of my talk today. So I shall begin with a brief introduction to Evonik in context to the topic of my presentation, followed by some basic concepts of open innovation. I shall then explain and select approaches of open innovation at Evonik. I would require roughly about 40 to 45 minutes to finish this part, and we shall then conclude by the Q&A session. Next slide. So at Evonik, we hold leading market positions in 80% of our businesses and have leading key financial indicators. We all share a common purpose as Evonik, and that is leading beyond chemistry. And to do this, we go beyond chemistry. We network our competencies and our expertise with each other, from chemicals through biotechnology, physics, and material science, and including other disciplines beyond the natural sciences. Sustainability is one of the most important topics in the world for society and for the economy. And Evonik is not merely a participant in solving the global challenges, but in many cases, we are leading right from the front. You will find Evonik in thousands and thousands of consumer products. And at times, this could be in very, very small amounts. But it is this small amounts that make the difference to the properties of our customers' products and to make the product more sustainable. We focus on sustainability in our product portfolio, in our innovation management, as well as in our investments. Thus, we create value-adding and sustainable solutions for becoming the best specialty chemicals company in the world. And that's basically our purpose. Next slide. So this slide gives you an overview about Evonik as such. And the figures are from the financial year 2022. So sales of about 18.5 billion euro, and these sales is generated from from products that have leading market positions. We are present in more than about 100 countries and have more than about 34,000 employees. Next slide. So now that you have at least some idea about what Evonik is, I step a little bit inside. And so what are the growth divisions at Evonik? So we have specialty additives, nutrition and care, and smart materials as the three growth divisions at Evonik. And for each growth division, we have an ambition and a promising growth driver. So for specialty additives, our ambition is small amount, big effect, and the promising growth drivers are making the difference, enabling circular economy and digital solutions. Whereas for nutrition and care, as the name suggests, we believe in bringing nutrition and care to life. And the promising growth drivers are active cosmetic ingredients, drug delivery systems, and sustainable and healthy nutrition. Whereas the ambition for smart materials is we find solutions for the need of tomorrow, today, and tomorrow. And the promising growth drivers are future mobility and eco solutions. Next slide. So this is a slide that shows you the sales by region, starting from west to east is so North America about 24%, Central and South America 5%, Europe, Middle East and Africa 51%, and Asia Pacific 20%. Next slide. So Evonik operates in Asia Pacific. We have more than about 5,000 employees, 51 sites, and active in 24 countries. We operate in 5 country clusters and now moving from east to west. So from Japan, Korea, China, Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand, and India. Next slide. So in India, we have a strong presence with more than 500 employees. The Evonik India headquarters is situated in Mumbai, and the main activities over here are sales and marketing, application technology lab, global R&D center, and the regional development center. The next entity that Evonik has is Evonik Catalyst India Pvt Limited, and it is a hub for Evonik Catalyst activities in India. This was acquired from Monash Catalyst in 2015. The last picture on the right-hand side is of Evonik Specialty Silica India Pvt Limited, and as the name suggests, this is into the business of silica, and this was acquired from JM Uber in 2017. Next slide. So now that you have an idea about Evonik and you also know about Evonik's global presence in general, I drill down into the research, development, and innovation at Evonik. And we have, say, 5 core sites for RD&I. And the first one is moving from again and west to east. So the first one is in US at Allentown. We have 2 sites in Germany, and these are more like twin in core sites. So one is Hanau, Darmstadt, and the other one is Mal and Essen. 3 core sites in Asia, Shanghai, Singapore, and Mumbai. And the advantages of having regional core sites is we can basically give fast response to regional trends, benefit from regional partnerships. Just for an example, it could be a partnership with universities, and then mitigation of geopolitical risks. Next slide. So what I have tried to do in the initial slides is basically give an introduction to Evonik and what could be the information or the context that could be useful in the coming slides. Now I start with what is open innovation. Next slide. So over here, I would like to quote the father of open innovation, Professor Chesborough. And Professor Chesborough mentions that in a world of widely distributed knowledge, companies cannot afford to rely entirely on their own research. This was a quote that Professor Chesborough gave maybe in early 2000, so maybe 20 years from now. And he does not halt over here, but we understand this as maybe later. So I move to the next slide. And 20 years later, how do we see this at Evonik? So in a world of widely distributed knowledge, increasing global networking, rapid change, and scarce budget, Evonik cannot afford to rely entirely on its own research. And that's how we see this at Evonik. And Professor Chesborough did not only mention this statement, but he also gave a solution. And the solution is, next slide. And the solution is open innovation. And open innovation stands for opening of the innovation process. Open innovations means opening innovation process of organizations and thus making strategic use of the outside world to increase their innovation potential. And I shall explain this to you in the coming slides. Can you go to the next slide? So in a traditional innovation process, you have a closed funnel. So what you have is ideas or insights and technologies coming at the entrance of the funnel, and as they move through the funnel, you finally at the exit of the funnel, you get the desired output. That is basically the products, and there is no exchange with the outside world. But in an open innovation concept, you have a permeable innovation funnel wherein the ideas are exchanged with the outside world. And to begin with, right at the start of the funnel or at a very early stage, you have the ideas or the inputs coming in from both external domains and the internal world. And these inputs could be in the form of ideas, technologies, and insights. Quite at an early stage, there could be an exchange with the outside world, and this could be in the form of say, crowdsourcing and community input. or it could be joint co-creation and public co-creation and development, or participation in publicly funded projects. As we move a little bit ahead in the funnel, there could be some ideas or some inventions wherein a particular technology is required from outside, and that needs to come in. And so it could be technology licensing, and on the similar side, maybe the organization feels that this technology can be licensed out, and so the technology can be licensed out. Moving further, it could be some ideas or inventions wherein the organization feels that this needs to be developed independent of the organization, and that's where we have a spin-off. Or for certain ideas and inventions, we feel that there like the organization feels that there is a need for or a joint development, or the need of a partner, and then it could be like joint venture or co-branding. And towards the end of the funnel, it could be like technologies or ideas that come in from startups, and this could be via corporate venturing. Over and all in the open innovation funnel, it starts with both the external and the internal ideas, and the ideas are, and then there is a flow of or exchange of information across the funnel, and ultimately the output is to get the desired product for the current market and for the new markets. Now, what are the advantages or the chances that we get by operating, say, by using open innovation? Firstly, it helps us to reduce the R&D cost. It helps us to increase the developmental speed. As the speed is as we have an increased speed, it also helps us to increase the R&D efficiency. We can incorporate the customer inputs right in the developmental phase. Since we are collaborating with the external world, we have access to new technologies, know-how, and external talent. It's a potential for marketing and employer branding. Since we work with the external partners who could be this could be from different domains, it gives us a chance to explore completely new products, services, business models, and markets, and leveraging of innovation systems. Can you move to the next slide? So yes, these are all possibilities, or these are all the advantages, but it does not come with only advantages or only positive signs. There are risks and challenges also associated with this. And the first and foremost is about revealing information, and revealing information not intended for sharing could be a big risk. Of course, then comes the risk of losing competitive advantage because you are revealing the IP. Increased complexity of controlling innovation and regulating how contributors affect a project. Also, devising a means to properly identify and incorporate external innovation, and realigning the innovation strategies to extend beyond the firm in order to maximize the return from external innovation. Next slide. So now that we understand some basics of open innovation, I will move to open innovation approaches at Evonik. Next slide. So, during the course of my presentation, from this moment onward, I shall cover at least three approaches that we have practiced at Evonik, and these are the three select approaches. So maybe I begin with corporate venturing. Next slide. So Evonik Venture Capital helps us invest in innovative startups that have the potential to become further industry leaders. Next slide. The Evonik Venture Capital plays a strategic role in Evonik's goal to become a best-in-class specialty chemicals company. This slide gives you the information that is required for our Evonik Venture Capital glance. So we have about 400 million designated funds, and 14 investment professionals are there in our team across 3 continents. An annual deal flow of about 800 relevant companies. We are a strategic investor, 25 cooperation between Evonik and the startups each year, and we have 50 investments in startups and funds since 2012. Next slide. So Evonik venture capital activities are driven by strategic goals and financial returns. And now we understand how we invest, or what is the criteria for investing in the startups. So we basically look out for companies from seed over to growth and latter stage. So this could be companies which have, say, technology readiness level, TRL level between 5 to 6. The initial investment per company is somewhere around 3 million, and the total commitment is up to 15 million per company. Our focus is Europe, North America, and Asia, and Europe includes Israel. We prefer to have minority shareholding, typically up to 20%, and we are an active partner that often serves on the board. And by doing so, we basically foster the growth opportunities with entrepreneurs to expand boundaries. Next slide. You basically had a glance at what Evonik venture capital is like, and then what is our criteria as such, or how do we invest. Now let us understand what do we what is the advantage of collaborating with Evonik. So being a strategic investor, Evonik Venture Capital is actively collaborating with the portfolio companies by leveraging the strengths of Evonik and driving the growth at the portfolio companies through strategic, technical, and commercial expertise and proficiency. So what is it that exactly Evonik brings to the table in terms of cooperation? So it is technology expertise and infrastructure, know-how of manufacturing processes and production scale-up, market experience and global access through excellent and well-established business networks, expertise in patent strategies and on issues of IP-related intellectual property rights, and reputation and financial strength. Next slide. So now you understand about our criteria, what we bring to the table, and now let us understand what are our focus areas. Okay, so our focus areas are basically driven by our innovation growth fields, and we have 6 innovation growth fields, and the seventh area is the digitalization. So the 6th innovation growth fields are say advanced growth. The first one is advanced food ingredients, and the search field over here are food ingredients focused on gut health, cardiovascular, cognitive, and pre-diabetes. The second one is cosmetic solutions, and the areas where we're looking for are actives and adjuvants for personal care, healthcare solutions, and this is the topics that we look out for are drug delivery systems, additive manufacturing, and over here we look out for new materials, new material concepts for additive manufacturing, membranes, and this could be hollow fiber and flat sheet membrane solutions for industrial separations, sustainable nutrition, and in this is we look out for precision livestock farming, novel feed additives with demonstrable performance, molecular diagnostics, digital animal farming, sustainable healthy nutrition. In the domain of digitalization, we look out for digital service and business models, digital supply chain, digital equipment for employees, data integration along the whole asset life cycle. Next slide. So apart from the conventional fund, we also have the Evonik Sustainability Tech Fund, and this was started in May 2022. This has an additional designated funds of 150 million euro. This is the key pillar of Evonik's sustainable strategy, and investments are made with and the investments made through this fund have the primary objective to achieve CO2 mitigation by reducing and removing emissions and foster carbon sequestration. The areas or the domains where we make investments using the Evonik Sustainability Tech Fund are circularity, feedstock switch and substitution, future mobility, hydrogen economy, renewable carbon, and clean energy production. Next slide. So now I feel that you understand and about our funds, our criteria, and what do we bring to the table. So let us understand, and this slide basically gives you an idea about the 35 direct investments that Evonik had till date. So below are the these investments were across the globe. So in North America, Europe, and Israel, as well as in Asia Pacific. And below are the names of the 35 companies that where we have direct investments. And the last row is about the exits. In the coming slide, I share to you details about the direct investments, and these are selected details. Next slide. So in the division of nutrition and care, one of the selected investments is Allied Therapeutics, And this is a company from US wherein Evonik has ventured with this company, and this company operates in the area of control release drug delivery for post-surgery pain management. The next company in nutrition and care is Yanacell, and Yanacell focuses on developing and producing high-quality biomaterials, and their main focus is biosynthetic cellulose. For smart materials, the first company is Shreeram from Netherlands, and Shreeram is the world's first and leading manufacturer of fully bonded thermoplastic composite pipe for renewable energy. The next company for smart materials, wherein we have direct investments, is Union Tech, and Union Tech is from China, and they are the market leaders for resin-based 3D industrial printers. For the for the next division, it is specialty additives, and for specialty additives is, I'm sorry, I just need to take this call. Hello. Yeah. Sorry. So for specialty additives, the company is Super C, and Super C basically is a graphene-based company, and this company basically makes graphene of a quality that basically helps to enhance the efficacy of the lithium-ion batteries. Whereas the last company that I'm sharing right now in this slide is Interface Polymers. This is a company from UK, and it basically simplifies the processing and recycling of plastics. So apart from direct investments, we have fund investments and Evonik, and the fund investments basically enable us to get an overview and access to emerging technologies in all the regions. The companies mentioned below are the funds are mentioned the funds are the mentioned below are the funds in which we have made the fund investments. We move further. So that's about say Evonik Venture Capital. What I would like to summarize is Evonik Venture Capital is basically a strategic investor wherein we basically invest with the companies and help them to develop further. So it's different to a capital investor, wherein a capital investor will just provide money, whereas we as a strategic investor would add value beyond the financial support as such. Coming to the next approach, and this is about industry cross innovation. Next slide. So cross-industry co-innovation connects the unique strengths and capabilities of organizations in different industries to create innovative solutions. Now, Shumter in 1939 and made a quote that the major part of all innovations are based on recombination of existing knowledge. And so for for the same industry and the value chain, many fields of recombinant knowledge are already explored. And this we can clearly see from the example of the wheel. So we started maybe in the early days as we had the stone wheel, and we went to a wooden wheel, and the modern day the modern day wheel now. Whereas for different industries and value chains, many non-explored fields exist. Now, what does cross-industry co-innovation do? So a cross-industry co-innovation basically combines the knowledge and demand from different industries. And what does this do? This basically has potentials for transformational innovation by first-time interaction of technologies and insights on business models in other industries. Now, the next slide will basically talk about examples, and then you will understand and the 3 points more clearly. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah. So the first example is about Google and Luxottica. So Google, a leading global technology company, whereas Luxottica, the leading eyewear company, and they collaborated on developing and producing Google Glass. The next example is about Apple and Nike. So we all know Nike, the sports shoes and the sports apparel and sports equipment manufacturing company. Apple, again, a leading technology company. And they both co-created Nike plus iPod to track and analyze a runner's performance. Next example is about IBM and Merck. So IBM, again, a technology company, whereas Merck, a supply chain management company. and they worked on developing a trade lens, a blockchain platform for supply chain management. Next, moving to the next example, it is about Evonik and Remondis. And Evonik has joined forces with Remondis Group, one of the leading recycling companies, to secure the supply chain, to secure the supply of end of life of mattress foams. And this cooperation will basically support Evonik to develop its chemical recycling process to the next level. So Evonik has developed an innovative hydrolysis process that will help us to recover the main components of the mattress foams, and this could be then used again for as a building block for the production of new mattresses. The next example is about Mastercard and Fitbit. So Mastercard is again a technology company or a payment payment gateway company, and Mastercard and Fitbit is a consumer electronics company, and they both collaborated in providing contactless payments via smartwatches and fitness trackers. And the last example that I'm sharing over here is about Bosch and Highmark. Bosch again a technology and engineering company, and Highmark Health, a non-profit organization working in the healthcare sector, and they had announced about a joint research on applying sound analytics in diagnosis of lung conditions. So what this basically tells you is, yes, these are all say companies from which are working together are all from different sectors overall, as different industries, different value chains, and they try to work together for our and develop an innovative product for the industry. Next slide. So how do we do this at Evonik? And at Evonik, the approach that we call is like industry cross innovation. And how do we do this? So we basically work on identification of unsolved problems at players along the value chain across industries and amongst different sectors. We run co-innovation projects with the unusual suspects as creating potential new business for Evonik, and then opportunities for further collaborations with global players focused on sustainability demand. Next slide. So what does ICSI do? What does ICSI do? Or ICSI basically stands for Industry Cross Innovations. So we basically listen to players along the value chains across industries and among different sectors. And this basically gives us an opportunity for new business development. So these the companies or the sectors that are listed over here, like agriculture, construction, health, personal care, are some of the examples of these. Is taken from the selected players that we had evaluated between 2021 to 2023. And once we do the evaluation, have the interaction, it basically helps us to identify new business opportunities. Next slide. So through this approach, we basically try to fill in the innovation funnel with the co-innovation projects. And now let us understand how do we do this. So we basically identify the partners, and this could be like selection of unusual suspects, and then these suspects could be coming in from different sectors or from players from maybe something like a less explored regions. Once the players have been identified and have been selected, we try to establish a contact over here, and then get a confirmation of a mutual interest. Then we explore opportunities with the partner. And we have a variety of, during this discussion phase, we have a variety of say connecting topics, and this normally happens between the team's aims at both the ends. And then we have a variety of connecting topics. From the connecting topics, then we prioritize and focus our interactions, and then identify a specific innovation co-projects, specific co-innovation projects that are then basically the feed to the innovation funnel, and that's how we basically try to fill the innovation projects for Evonik via the industry cross approach as such. Next slide. So these are exemplary projects. So XC has initiated a variety of different innovation partnerships at partners with Evonik. So it could be about CO2 utilization, it could be about high performance ceramic, controlled additive release via encapsulation and renewable fuels, most of the times what happens is once we have an identification of a project, we need to sign an NDA, and that's where we cannot share more details in public domain. But in the next slide, can you move to the next slide? Yeah. So the next slide gives you a co-innovation example about Evonik and Siemens. And this I can share in public domain because this was a publicly funded project. This project has come, I would like to inform you all that this project has come to an end in 2019. So what we did in this project is we worked on the topic of artificial photosynthesis. So Siemens, a global engineering and electronics electronics company. So Siemens worked on, so they had the knowledge and the technology required for the electrolyzer, whereas Evonik, and that's the green part of the slide, whereas Evonik took care of the purple side, that is the gas fermentation. Essentially, what we tried to do in this project was we had a solar power electrolyzer to convert CO2 to CO. Of course, water was also there, and then an H2. And then we had a highly carbon selective biotechnology to convert CO and H2 to high value biochemicals. This has been successfully demonstrated. So we have a successful POC, and upscaling is something that we are still working on. This is there in public domain, and I have a reference from Nature Catalysis where you can find the further details of this project. Next slide. So what does the ICSI methodology basically lead to? So ICSI can lead to different strategic options for collaboration. So it could be like a customer supplier relationship, research contract, it could be co-innovation and JDA, licensing, joint market routes, branding, investment, joint venture and acquisition. It could be any one of these. Next slide. Yeah. And with this, so we covered two of them, two of the approaches. One of them was about corporate venturing. The other one was about industry cross innovations. And now I come to ideation and entrepreneurship. Next slide. Yeah. So over here, the first of the three are the internal approaches. So this is something like global ideation jam, ideation workshops, and seek and solve. And these are totally done inside Evonik. The next two, the challenges and the lead user is something that is an external approach, and I'll be focusing mainly on the challenges side. So in the challenges side, the client for the innovation development team at Evonik is basically the business line. The crowd could be academia, startup, supplier, or it could be even the industry. The community size is open, and what we are looking out for is ideas, network, and branding. Could you move to the next slide? Yeah. So these open innovation formats, or the formats, basically the open innovation challenges have a long history at Evonik with different formats. So we started with Evonik calls for research proposal, and we had in the last 10 years, so from 2013 to 2018, we worked on this concept. And this basically is a concept wherein which we target professors with a particular topic that is coming from our business line and invite their participation. The next one was something that we practiced between say 2019 to 2020, and this was on an Equipa platform, and that's the reason it is called as the Equipa Challenge. And the current one that we are using is the Evonik Open Innovation Challenge, and I come to the details of this after in the coming slides. Then the row below, the CAM Entrepreneur Award, Student Entrepreneurship Spirit, and Young Polymer Scientist Forum. These are the formats that we basically practiced at the different universities and with the students. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah. So Evonik calls for research proposal, and here's an example. So this was done particularly for the India region, and the topic in 2016, and the topic was novel approach to synthesis of methionine. The participants were universities and research institutes from India, and the methodology was we had about the list of participants were approximately about 30. So we had sent them the RFP and RFP stands for request for proposal, and other documents were communicated by email. A telephonic contact and follow-up was done by mail as well as on phone, and the concept was popularized by participation in seminars. So the timeline was about, say, it started on 7th of Jan 2016, and the deadline was 30th Jan April 2016. But due to the request made by certain participants, we extended it by 15 days. So ultimately, it was closed on 13th May 2016. Overall, the contest generated about 27 proposals, and the top 3 ideas received Evonik prize. The first prize was about 10,000 euros, second prize 5,000 euros, and third prize was about 2,500 euros. Now, at that point, for this particular format, we were not disclosing the name of the awardees, and that's the reason you don't find a name over here. Next slide. So as the format evolved, we moved from ECRP, as we call it at Evonik, like Evonik calls for research proposal, to ECPA challenge, and from ECPA challenge, then we move to the public challenge, which is now called as the Evonik Open Innovation Challenge, and this is open participation, and this is now something that we have been doing from 2022. Next slide. So what do we do over here is basically we work with our internal partners and we create an individual challenge concept. So under the domain of challenge design, we basically work on we work on the selection of a topic, the selection of the crowd. So what is the crowd? It is startups, students, universities, or it's open for everybody. Preparation of the challenging brief and rules of participation. Award that includes the award, the challenge duration, and the evaluation criteria. In the submission phase, as we work on the challenge placement on the Evonik Open Innovation webpage, marketing based on the selection crowd, and proposal submission via online format. And then we also support in the evaluation phase by sharing the proposals with the challenge provider, criteria for the evaluation, shortlist announcements, communication of feedback to participants, and interview with the selected participants and the winners selection. So now, I would say from ECRP to this Evonik Open Innovation Challenge. So that was something wherein this was, I would still say, more. Even though we were interacting with the external world, we were not announcing this maybe in public, but now we have this is all done on a public public platform, and it's all there in the public domain. The typical time that would take for these activities could be somewhere around 4 months. Next slide. So this is a challenge that we had for Vestinamar, which is basically an octanomer that we have in our product portfolio, and we were basically looking out for new applications for Vestinamar to expand the field, the market scope, and to explore new markets. So the question that we had posed was which new applications could be addressed with Vestinamar. And in which applications is good compatibility with rubber or rubber-like materials required. The award was about 5,000 euros, and the challenge was closed on 30th June 2022. We received about 9 relevant proposals from 8 different countries. The participants were mainly professors and students. And the first prize went to Dr. Aarti More from the Institute of Chemical Technology, and her idea was about using reactive diluent for UV curable powder coating. The next prize was for encapsulation of epoxy curing agents, and this was from Professor Dudko from the University of Bayreuth, Germany. And the third prize went to novel functional derivatives for polymers and biorenewable copolymers, and this was from the Belfield University in Germany. Now, our experience has been in yes, we get different proposals, and at times we get quite detailed proposals. Okay, and these proposals could be there's a quite detailed method of synthesis. There is a SWOT analysis done at times, and we also get proposals wherein they share about the relevant market and the market size and what could be the new opportunities overall as such. And so our experience with this format has been really very good. Can you move to the next slide? So this brings me to the 2 open innovation challenges that we currently have at Evonik. And the first one that is open till 30th of November is about discovering new applications for liquid polybutadienes and shape tomorrow's mobility. And I would this is basically a chance to submit your innovative ideas and a chance to win a prize is of about 5,000 euros and collaborate with our experts. So I would request as anybody who has any thoughts in this is please have a look at this. And the next one is the one that we have advertised just yesterday, and this is about say we are seeking solutions for effluent treatment over here. So this is about our defossilization strategy, and Evonik is looking for sustainable production reducing the CO2 formation globally. So we are seeking for an alternative usage of an effluent containing 17% mass acrylic acid, 1% and of acetic acid, and 3% formaldehyde. And this is again a chance to submit your innovative ideas and to win in prizes and collaborate with us to reach sustainability. This challenge is open till 15th of February 2024. Thank you, and that brings me to the end of my presentation, and I'm open to Q&A.
We are open to questions now, so you can type in your questions in the chat box. Please type in your questions in the chat box.
Hello, hello Shreeram. I just thought this is Premnath here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon.
So,
yeah, while other questions come in, just wanted to check up. Would you give us some examples of recent sort of problem definitions? And when people do apply and so on and so forth, what are the kind of arrangements that you have with the people who offer solutions? In the sense, can it lead to a technology license, or is it a research project, or what does it end up in, and how do the terms look like? I mean, I'm just asking in general in an open innovation situation, not necessarily what only Evonik does.
Yeah. So maybe the question is like you have asked quite a broad question, but maybe I start my answer with what Evonik does, and maybe I believe that this is what maybe all other companies also would be doing, but I'm not very I cannot comment on behalf of all of them. Okay, so what we do at Evonik is as you saw that the questions are quite broad, and it depends upon the stakeholders who are involved in this. So the three examples that I shared with you, okay, on two of them, these were mainly on the application side, whereas as the last example, which is the current example that we launched yesterday, this is wherein it's an active problem, it's an infield problem wherein we are trying to seek solution, and then we try to frame it because this is something wherein maybe we tried something internally. We also maybe we would have definitely also consulted some experts into this, but we would also like to maybe broaden our understanding and have say maybe out of the box solutions for this, and that's the reason we try to approach the external world. Now, coming to the part of how do we take care about technology licensing and how do we address this? So it depends again upon the solution, okay, and the stage at which the solution is. So the solution is very clearly defined, and maybe something wherein the person who has shared an idea has already something like a thing wherein maybe he's in the process of filing an IP, then there will be a different discussion with him. Or if it's just an idea, then maybe it could be something wherein we say that, okay, we could do a joint project. We could fund a project wherein the idea proposer is also involved in the project, and we see how the idea evolves further. So these are at least the two examples that I could think about. So it again and totally depends upon the stage at which the idea is, how concrete the idea is, and how we can take it further. So if it needs further evaluation, definitely we need to go through that phase of evaluation, and we support that.
Thank you. That's a. Are there
So
situations?
there is no, I would say there is no direct answer for it as such.
Yeah, but you engage. Do companies in open innovation engage with individuals and also research institutions and small companies, or is there some you need to do you engage with individuals also, right?
No, these so yeah, this the open innovation challenges are open to everyone. So it is not limited to a professor or a student. It could be anybody who gives us a solution, and we would have an exchange and interaction with them.
Okay. How do you manage any conflict of interests and contamination of IP and so on and so forth? Like, do you decide through third party you deal with open innovation, or do you have an intermediary in between in open innovation calls, or you handle it yourself as an organization?
So now as an organization, basically we handle this. So we have a strong IP team, and we handle this. The IP team handles this at Evonik.
So that if there is somebody who's proposing something, you'll take your own precautions on ensuring that you're not, there's no IP issue that comes up later, right?
Yeah. So this is well documented right at the start of the interaction. Okay. So if suppose there's a candidate who has won a prize and he wants to start an interaction with us. Okay. So it is made very clear between him and Evonik as to at what stage is he. So if he has filed for an IP, you would I definitely ask him, have you filed for an IP? Are you in the process of filing for an IP? And then do you want to file an IP and then start interactions with Evonik? So all these things are discussed with him right at the start, so that there is no ambiguity afterwards.
Okay. There is a question, but it is a very specific question. So I'm not sure if it's suitable for taking up here, but maybe I'll frame it as a generic question. Suppose you have have a situation where you're already working with a startup company and there are others working in that space. How do you engage with new companies, new startups in that space, or what is your policy usually? For example, this particular question is about bacterial nanocellulose, but I thought you can generalize the answer.
So in case we are working with a certain company, okay, it depends upon the contractual obligations that we have with this company. Okay, and that's the reason I may not be in the right position to answer this specific question.
Yeah. So you would take on a case-to-case basis call, or would it be something where, once you're in it, that is sort of out of bounds from your open innovation framework?
No, it will be as I mentioned. So this will depend upon on the kind of contract that Evonik has with that company. Okay, and if we have something like an exclusivity, we will not talk, like, then it becomes an exclusive contract. But if it's an open interaction that we have with that company, we are just supporting that company, then we are definitely open to evaluate others.
Sorry, there is also another specific question. Again, I don't know if you want to comment on it, but it's about nanocrystalline cellulose and smart materials and what your sort of forward thinking is on it. But is that something which you want to comment on?
I would just say that any material that is going to add, say, that comes under the category of say improving the resource efficiency, we are open to evaluate it, and that's what I would like to say over here.
Okay, so between your various open innovation models, one where you put out a challenge in the very beginning versus, say, corporate venturing and so on and so forth, how do you classify them? In the sense, would most requests coming from startups, would you consider under corporate venturing? How do you decide which model to use for which case?
Yeah. So what happens is Evonik is like, as I mentioned, Evonik is basically a strategic investor. Okay, so we not only help the startups with on the financial front, but we also support them and overall as such. So that's the reason when you see that we work with 25 different startups in a year, not all of them are ones where we financially support them. In some cases, it could be like, okay, the startups comes to us and they request for support about wherein maybe for some method development or for some product testing, and then the decision for this is basically again made by the stakeholders who comes from the business side, and then they will say like. Uh, that they basically decide as to whether we should depending upon what I would say the stage at which the company is, the attributes of the product, we take a call as to how we engage this company.
Yeah. So, Procter and Gamble and Reckitt Benckiser and all sometimes say that the 30% or more of their product lines come from, external technology, right?
Yeah.
What is the proportion in, say, a company like Evonik? I'm just trying to understand from a fine specialty chemicals and materials point of view, what proportion actually comes through open innovation activities?
I'm sorry, I don't have a figure to give
Is
you
it
for
large
this.
or is it relatively smaller than what Procter and Gamble and all talk about? Because I know Reckitt Benckiser talks about 30-40% almost.
Maybe I would put in, so you all these companies that you are talking about are more of a B2C company.
Yeah.
Okay, and we are more of a B2B company. Okay, so the percentage could be lesser as compared to what is in their case.
Yeah.
But I don't have the figures with me right now.
Okay. One question about just corporate venturing. I mean, I don't know how deeply you engage with that team, but when corporate venturing happens, the end point, do you see in open innovation kind of models more of mergers and acquisitions with the company which is posing the problem? I mean, which is the investor, or is it treated just the exits that you mentioned? Are they to other entities?
Up till now, with the history that Evonik has, we had 2 acquisitions. Okay, and the rest were just the other exits.
So those would have been sold to other investors or maybe secondary sales, right? Secondary investments by other investors, I presume, right?
I don't have the details about it. And as I told you, we are basically a minority stakeholder.
Yeah.
Okay, so we we hold a max up to 20%. But again, it's not that we will hold only 20% in case it is required. Again, it depends upon a specific case, but the normal guidelines is we'll hold up to 20% only.
And are there any situations where a corporate engages with a partner in open innovation models and then other companies also join in that? Do you have any such things where there's a consortium model or something like that? For example, your polyurethane work that you're doing, that will have a lot of takers, right? A lot of companies, PU business will be interested.
Yeah, there will be a lot of stakeholders over there. But currently, as of now, okay, we have the agreement is there in public domain between Evonik and Remondis. Okay, I totally understand. Yeah, there will be definitely a lot of stakeholders, but whether the stakeholders have made it publicly announced or not, this is something that I don't know.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Actually, I don't want to monopolize that, but I just thought I'd ask you those questions. Any other questions from anybody else, please? Kavita, over to you, please.
So I think there are no more questions. Thank you for this very interesting talk. I will request all the participants. The feedback form link is there in the chat box. Please fill in the feedback. It will help us to arrange further such sessions. And before we end, our next talk is on 28th of November. So please do register for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi.
Yeah, thank you, Shreeram. Very nice to get an industry perspective on this. Otherwise, we only hear theory sometimes. Yeah. Thank you. See you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Ramnath. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.